Hello and welcome to another Putrid Ramblings. I know it's been a while since I've posted something on this channel, but I still wanted to do a end of the year video, which was difficult to actually film, so this is a start of the year video now, but you know, that's okay. In this video I would like to talk about all the things that I've done this year hobby-wise. And at the end of the video, I would like to talk a little bit about the future of the channel, what I'm planning on doing, and stuff like that. So anyways, let's jump right in and talk about all the hobby-related things that I've been doing this year. So at the start of this year, I was playing Warhammer 40k quite a bit. The first army I would like to talk about is World Eaters. Now, I painted a lot of stuff the year previous, but I still had some cool projects that I wanted to work on. First, I wanted some Chaos Spawn for the army, which I still had some laying around, like the old Chaos Spawn models, and honestly, they look very goofy and weird, but I think they still hold up, so I painted those. And I needed some reinforcements for my army, so I decided to buy two Chaos War Dogs, which are Chaos Knights. They're the smaller versions, but they look pretty cool. And I decided for both to basically make them in a little mini diorama on their base. So the first one is walking on a battlefield where an Imperial Guard is hiding. He has a little cultist walking with him, which is pretty cool. And the other one was a little bit more dynamic and a little bit more involved, where a War Dog is actually in the moment of attacking a helpless Space Marine. It was actually quite easy to pose them, especially the legs. It did require some additional cutting here and there, but it was actually quite fun to make the diorama base. And finally I painted a 3D printed Dreadnought, or Hellbrute as it is called, which is completely kit out in Khorne World Eaters fashion. It looks over the top. He has a huge hammer, which is not at all practical, but I love the look of him, and I had a lot of fun painting that one too. And I did not have the official kit for the 8-bound. The previous 8-bound that I painted were a third-party alternative that I also 3D printed. But you know, the actual kit, it looks very weird, but I thought, you know what, I do need it for my army. So for the Exalted 8-bound, I did actually paint up the official kit for the World Eaters. And you know, at least now they stand out proper from the normal 8-bound that I have running around on the field. Afterwards, I was kind of done playing World Eaters. It's a fun army, but it's very one note. And once everybody was kind of in the know of, okay, I just need to stay out of engagement range or like charge range, and it was very difficult. I thought it was in the end a pretty difficult army to play with. It was very difficult to get into combat. You know, once I'm in combat, it's fine, but getting into combat was quite the puzzle, especially when you're playing against teleporting Necrons, which, you know, that is very annoying. So, you know, it was fun. I did play with them quite a bit, but I got a little bored of them. Then I switched to Admech, which I also painted quite a bit in the previous year, but I still had some units left to paint. So I painted my sterilizers, I painted some other stuff that you see here on screen. Most of it is in the same color scheme as the previous things though, so I did not really end up making a lot of videos for them because, you know, yeah, I don't want to make the same tutorial twice, really. That's, you know, unless I paint it completely different, it doesn't really have a lot of value, I think. So if you want to know how I painted these remaining Admech, just look at my previous videos, and that's exactly how I painted them. But you know, for this army, uniformity works really well. You know, I think for Admech it works really well, and the color scheme is very nice. Next up is Death Guard. The problem was Death Guard is one of my oldest armies, so most of the stuff I have, you know, it's painted in an older way. Bases don't really match. I wasn't really happy with the overall look. And I painted some new stuff. I had a new way of painting Plague Marines. I painted my Blight Lords, Mortarion, all that stuff, and they look really cool, but they did not fit the older army. So what I basically did is repaint pretty much everything I had, which ranges from a complete repaint to just repainting the bases. Like the Poxwalkers all looked fine, so I just needed to repaint the bases and stick some 3D printed flames on the base that I painted bright green. So it looks like the army is wading through a battlefield that has all these toxic fumes rising from the earth. That's what I was going for. Have a little OSL on the armor as well. I added a Plague Burst Crawler. Actually, I added 2 Plague Burst Crawlers to the army, just in time for the whole meta narrative to change, so they were not very viable anymore. So I got to try them out once, and then they got nerfed. I don't know. I still use them quite a bit. Don't really get much out of it, to be honest. I mean, they're fine, they look very cool, but they don't really do that much for me. I don't know. Death Shroud with Typhus was a very fun project to paint. I really like the Terminator models for the Death Guard army, and Typhus has a really cool pose. Like Karn, I really changed his pose because it looked very weird, but Typhus, yeah, he was good to go, and I had a lot of fun painting him. It was really cool. As you can see on the screen, all the other stuff that I painted for the Death Guard. There's even more, like stuff I repainted. I did not really add to that, but you know, I did add a lot of new Plague Marines. So I now have 2 full units of Plague Marines, and I can have all the weapon combinations that I want. So that is pretty cool. The rhinos that you see are also from a third party, the same as the Chaos Knight. Unfortunately, that company doesn't exist anymore. They don't have those STLs anymore, but I was very happy to at least snag some STLs at the last minute in order to make these very cool models. For the Death Guard, I also added a Mythic Blyhauler, which was a lot of fun too. I did actually convert that one because I wanted to have an open mouth, because it's like a weird demon engine that actually has a mouth. With the actual model, you just see hints of the mouth. So I opened it up. Like, it's not unique. Other people have done the same thing. I think it's quite common, but this was my take on it. I gave it some jagged teeth, and I actually made 2. One of them is spitting out this bile of vomit, which is great. And the other one has all these weird tentacles coming out of his mouth, which, you know, that also feels like a weird close combat attack that a tank like that might have. So really cool. And I also wanted Chaos Spawn for the Death Guard, because Chaos Spawn, I'm not sure if they're still good, but they were very good. They were like, for the Death Guard, a very fast unit, and they were perfect to grab those secondary objectives. So I still had the Gellerpox infected on sprue, so I took the 2 biggest guys and basically painted them up so they could act as Chaos Spawn for the Death Guard army. And I really like these models. I really tried some new stuff to make them look nice and gross, and overall I was pretty happy with them. Finally, for 40k, I made some terrain. So the Eons Battle guys, every month they have new scenery, and one of those scenery pieces was 40k Ruins, which could be modeled in a way that was perfect for competitive play. So I bought that set, I got the printing, and I actually put all the terrain on these wooden, like the very thin plywood boards. I got the painting, and it was really fun actually. Normally, I'm not that big on painting scenery, like I've done it in the past for this channel as well. But I really tried to take most out of the airbrush for this terrain. So if you have seen the tutorial, I used the airbrush quite a bit extensively, but that was such a big time saver. I really liked it. I really like the looks of the buildings. They're quite busy, but with the paint scheme, they're not overwhelming. So they have a great place on the tabletop, but the models still shine. But it just adds so much more to have this well, this gorgeous terrain on the tabletop. So use it quite a bit. With the coming of Age of Sigmar, the new edition of Age of Sigmar, I was kind of hoping to jump in on that, you know, to restart Age of Sigmar because I have not played that in a while, to rejuvenate my Age of Sigmar armies because, you know, I have quite a bit of them. So with a little Age of Sigmar tangent now, I did try out most of the armies that I have. The Gloomspite Gits, Maggotkin, Flesh Eater Courts, and all of them were a little, I don't know, it did not really catch me. Like, everything was very limited, which I know because it's just indexes now instead of full battle tomes, but I did like that a lot with 40k, Age of Sigmar, a little less. But I still had that wonderful box of Dark Oath miniatures, which I was dying to paint, and I did. I painted the whole army set. I had a lot of fun painting, although those models are really, really detailed, and it really, really burned me out to paint all those Marauders and the Fell Riders with all the pouches and stuff. I did not make it easy on myself. Like, I had 3 ways of painting leather, and I painted every horse different. Man, it was a lot of work. But I gotta say, when you put it all together, it looks pretty cool. I also painted some Chaos Warriors because I really like those models. I even tracked down the Chaos Warriors, which were part of a Start Collecting box, which are not available anymore, and I found that unit somewhere in France, and I was able to get that unit as well. So now I have 2 distinct looking Chaos Warrior units, which look really cool. My favorite model of the Dark Oath army set definitely was the Wilder Fiend. Man, what an impressive model that is. It's really cool. It looks really gnarly and really threatening. And I just went all out with my painting video. I had a lot of fun doing it. I think it looks really cool. Play-wise, I did play with them a couple of times, but the Dark Oath at the start, like, you want them for chaff, basically. You want them running ahead of your army, so people will kill them, and then the Chaos Warriors swoop in, I think. Because if you're just playing Dark Oath, they're not gonna do a lot. The Wilder Fiend was pretty good, but, you know, 1 unit cannot save a whole army. So I think it's best to have a more diverse Chaos Warrior or Slaves to Darkness army, which I still have some models in my backlog that I want to paint, but I did have a lot of fun painting-wise with the Dark Oath. I never want to paint one ever again because it's so much work. I'm glad with the stuff that I have, and I will definitely expand my Slave to Darkness army. I got some really cool models lined up, and they'll come. But that's for a little later. And just before I actually stopped playing Age of Sigmar, I was painting some Ironjawz, because I actually don't know how I got to them. I think I was just looking for, okay, the armies that I have are not really working, what could I do differently? And then I ended up looking at the Ironjawz, and, you know, I had this idea for lava bases, so I painted up a unit and the mega boss, made it sort of with lava bases. But in the end, I think I just lost interest in Age of Sigmar as well. You know, and the game is still fun and everything. It was just, I think I just played Warhammer too long, and I just got tired of it a little bit. But there was another game that got my attention because I played a demo game with a friend of mine, and the game was called Moonstone. Now, Moonstone is very different from Warhammer. It's a very whimsical skirmish game. The models look really fun. There's no dice rolls. It's mostly you play with cards. For me, it was a breath of fresh air from all the Warhammer that I painted. And if I look back, like, I started this channel in 2019 and I've painted a lot of Warhammer in the meantime. So, you know, having a little change of scenery is good. So I decided to go full in with Moonstone, and I actually had a lot of fun painting up these models. Tried to do some different things, and because you're painting just a few models, you can actually spend a little bit more time with them. and I still have loads of them to paint. But unfortunately, I got in a bit of a burnout after I built my Halloween costume, which I will also would like to talk about because it's really cool. But first, Moonstone is a fun game to play. If you have not played it, I can definitely recommend it. It is very different from Warhammer. The rules are a lot more whimsical, a lot of fun and weird stuff can and will happen, and I definitely would like to explore this game more. Now, I went with the Vault faction, which is a faction of woodland spirits, fauns, and the likes of that, which are really cool. And even my daughter was very much in love with the game, so I painted up some Dominion characters for her, which are cute little goblins riding on dogs, and a troll that sings the stones, which is her favorite. And I have more stuff to paint, and I will paint more stuff because we have the Shades of Moonreach faction, which is all these weird little undead and weird monster thingies. I did paint up 3 of them, and I filmed it, but I never finished the tutorial, which is something I will do in the new year. But yeah, definitely Moonstone, go check it out. You don't really need a lot of stuff for it. I did paint up a lot of scenery because it's a different setting. You don't want to use your Warhammer scenery with a completely different game, at least for me. You know, it's a game, it plays in the night because you're collecting moonstones, so I wanted to reflect that as well. So I got like this STL pack, which is like a whimsical fantasy market. I got some of the buildings, again, from Eons of Battle. I printed 2 of those buildings. And I got this cool river with a bridge, which I think looks really cool. I painted everything a little bit like it would look good in the evening. I think it looks pretty neat. So yeah, those were the games and most of the stuff that I painted. I did paint some other stuff here and there, like I painted 2 more Underworlds warbands. Mostly for fun. I don't really play Underworlds, but I did really like those warbands, like the Skabbix Plague Pack and the Skinnerkin. You know, they're very, very cool models. Of course, I purchased the Plague Bearer Underworlds unit as well, because, you know, it's I gotta buy new Nurgle models when they get released because I love Nurgle so much. So I got these as well. Yeah, and that's kind of the stuff that I did this year. It's still a lot. I don't know if it's more or less than previous years, to be honest. I don't know. The scenery, especially the 40k scenery, was a lot. So if you put everything together, it'll be quite a collection. Oh, before I change the subject, I would also like to talk about my Halloween costume. So I am a big fan of the Evil Dead movie franchise. And I always wanted to have the signature chainsaw of Ash. And here it is. Here's some photos of me building it. It's actually a 3D print. Made sure it looks as realistic as possible. Had a lot of fun with the painting because it has to look filthy and grimy, and that is stuff that I love to paint, as you know. I also made the shotgun, the boomstick, you know, also 3D printed. I did actually go as Ash to a Comic-Con, which was fun to walk there as Ash with the chainsaw. Unfortunately, no one recognized me because the overall public was very young. Everyone was dressed as anime characters, and no one really knew who Ash was from Evil Dead. So that was, you know, what are you gonna do? But definitely it was very fun to do, especially also like weathering the clothes, ripping them apart, making them as filthy as possible. I really went all out with acrylic paints, which was a lot of fun to do. Next is what I'm going to do in the next year. So you've already seen all the stuff I did this year. Hope you enjoyed that. If you want to stick around to hear me talk about what I want to do in the next year, hang on. Otherwise, thanks for watching, I guess. So what I want to do next year, I got a lot of stuff planned. A lot of stuff that I want to build and paint and play with. But I need to do it a little bit differently because I don't want to be burned out again. So what I'm going to try to do is basically not get stuck on one project. So I started the Ironjawz, and normally what I would do is basically just go through everything that I have to finish the entire army. So, I got the Maw Crusher standing by to be based. I got the Gore Guntras, ready to be painted. And normally I would just go and just work on that until it's finished. But now I want to do it a little bit differently, where I basically do a little bit for the Ironjawz, a little bit for Warhammer. Then I want to do a little bit for Moonstone. And then I want to do a little bit for a new game of Trench Crusade. Yes, I also jumped in on the Trench Crusade bandwagon because how could I not? It is even grimdarkier than Warhammer. So I really, really like the Kickstarter. I backed it during the Pledge Manager. I might have bought more warbands. So now I have 4 of them. And I also cannot wait to paint them. But again, I'm going to do everything in little steps. So video-wise, I'm going to be a little bit all over the place. It will not be, here is a couple of Ironjawz videos. Here are a couple of Trench Crusade videos. It's going to be a little this and a little that, which I hope will prevent another burnout, really. So basically it's going to be Warhammer, which at the moment will be Age of Sigmar, but I still got 40k as well. So there's enough to paint. I'm not worried. I'm not worried I'm running out of projects to paint, for sure. A little Warhammer, a little Moonstone. I got a lot of very fun looking boxes to paint. And Trench Crusade, which I'm not sure if I will do individual models or the whole warband as a video. I'm not sure yet. The first warband that I want to tackle is the Black Grill, which would not come as a surprise if you see the models and you know what I like to paint. So I'm just going to start painting that warband. I think I'll just do the whole warband in one go because it's not that many models. That's also nice about skirmish games. You're not dealing with units of 10 models. No, you have 10 models and that's your whole thing. Also, what I was thinking is the way I do tutorials, and that's also where I could use some feedback on. Shall I do these step-by-step, like literal step-by-step videos, or give a more overall impression on how I paint things? Because personally, if I look at how I view tutorials, nowadays, if I want to know something, how something is painted, I'll look up I favor shorts. So I just need to know how to paint one specific thing. I'll look it up. If I see a short of that, I'll look at that instead of a whole video that's maybe 12 minutes and then trying to find that one little thing. So I was wondering what would be better, make the long tutorial videos or focus more on shorts where I just make okay, here's how I painted this specific skin color, or if you want this effect, this is how you do it. I thought it would be nice to just give you guys a little update because of my sudden disappearance, basically. I'm really curious about playing Trench Crusade. I have not even really read the rules, to be honest. I basically went off it on the models alone, which looked cool. The Black Grill Warband is ready to be painted. No idea how I'm going to do it yet. I got the Villainy inks, which I think would be perfect for it. But not everybody has that, of course, so I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. A lot of new stuff, a lot of exciting stuff for 2025. So, thanks for watching this video. Thanks for hanging in there and commenting on my videos. I really, really appreciate all the very nice comments I always get. I try to respond to them all. If you got any suggestions, whatnot, just let me know. In regards to how I should do the tutorials, if I should just stay doing the things that I'm doing or change stuff on what you want me painted. I don't have everything, unfortunately, so some of the stuff you guys recommend, like I don't have it, so I can't paint it. But you know, I'm sure a lot of new cool stuff will be released by GW and other companies for me to paint. And yeah, that's kind of it. That was my little ramblings video, last one of the year, or technically first one of the new year. Let's just pretend this was the last one of 2024 and go from there. Thanks for watching.